Let's look at the integral test and pSeries test for convergence or divergence of an infinite series. With the integral test, when you look at your infinite series, you're going to try to rewrite the a sub n term as a function of x, as long as that function is positive, continuous, and decreasing for all values of x greater than or equal to 1, then either both the infinite series and integral will converge or diverge. Converge is if your integral comes out as a finite number, diverge if it doesn't. Let's look at some examples of integral test. In the first example, we have the series from 1 to infinity of n over n squared plus 1. If we rewrite this as a function of x, then we're going to have the integral from 1 to infinity of x over x squared plus 1 dx. Now, the x over x squared plus 1, if you wanted to put this in a graphing calculator and take a look at the graph, from 1 to infinity, which would be basically quadrant 1 of the graph should close in on the x-axis. That means it's always decreasing. It should never go below the x-axis, so that means it's always positive. And there shouldn't be any breaks in the graph, so it's continuous. And this one will. If you graph it, it's positive, continuous, and decreasing from x equals 1 all the way to positive infinity. So this one fits the bill for integral test. So when we complete the integral, we're going to have the limit as b goes to infinity. And this is like when we did the improper integrals a few sections back. And that's where we replace the infinity with the letter b. Okay. Now, if you look at the denominator and take the derivative, you get 2x. That's pretty close to our numerator. In fact, if we have a 2 there, then it is the derivative of the denominator. And as long as it's a constant value, you can multiply in and balance it back out however you need to make it work. So this is going to be 1/2 limit as b goes to infinity. The antiderivative, because the numerator is the denominator's derivative, will be natural log of the denominator. X squared plus 1 is always positive, so I'm going to use parentheses instead of absolute value. It really doesn't matter that much if you can safely put absolute values just to cover your base. All right, so we're using fundamental theorem of calculus. We get 1/2 limit as b goes to infinity. ln of b squared plus 1 minus ln 1 squared plus 1 Now, because natural log keeps getting larger as the larger the value you plug in, this term right here is going to go to infinity. Infinity squared plus 1 is still infinity. It's super large. Natural log of something larger and larger, the answer keeps getting larger and larger. This last part at the end is natural log of 2. That's a finite value, but subtracting that little amount from infinity doesn't matter to anything, doesn't amount to anything. Now, because this limit of the integral does not converge to a finite number, this infinite series diverges as well. On the second example, same situation. We're going to have an infinite series from 1 to infinity of 1 over n squared plus 1. I'm going to rewrite this as an improper integral from 1 to infinity. 1 over x squared plus 1 dx. Again, if you want to try this in your calculator to get a visual, if you take a look at the graph of 1 over x squared plus 1, and you investigate that from 1 to infinity, basically again, quadrant 1, the graph will decrease, stay above the x-axis, and it's continuous. There's no points of discontinuity for this one. So like on the previous example, we're going to use the improper integral technique, and we're going to go limit as b goes to infinity. Integral from 1 to b of 1 over x squared plus 1. Now this antiderivative is a special one. It's tangent inverse or arctangent of x if you prefer to write it that way. It's really your choice on that either way. All right, so using fundamental theorem of calculus, we have limit as b goes to infinity. Tan inverse of b minus tan inverse of 1. Okay, so thinking back to when we did a tangent inverse before, the farther right you go, the closer the graph gets to pi over 2. Tangent inverse of 1 is pi over 4 because the tangent of pi over 4 is equal to 1. This gives us a finite value of pi over 4. Now, if the integral has a finite value, then your original infinite series converges. Now let's switch over to another test, and it's called the pSeries test. The pSeries, and it'll need to be very close to this format, 1 over n to the p. Sometimes you'll have a constant on top, like a 2 or a 3. That's okay. You can always pull that in front of the sigma as long as it's a constant. But as long as that power in the denominator is greater than 1, and you can write your series in this format, then you'll have a convergent series. Now, if the power happens to be somewhere between 0 and 1, including 1, then it's divergent. If p is equal to 1, it's called a harmonic series, and that is divergent. But as long as that power is greater than 1, you will have a convergent series. First example, let's see if we can't translate this series into the pSeries format that was on the previous slide. Okay, now the denominators seem to be matching numbers, one out from under the radical, one under a square root radical. The very first term could have a denominator of 1 times square root of 1, just not showing, but technically that's right, it's equal to 1. So I'm going to try to write a term and then we'll go back and check and see if it works out. Starting with 1, n equals 1. 1 over 1 times square root of 1 is 1. That's our first term. We move the index up to 2, then it's 1 over 2 square root of 2. Third term, 1 over 3 square root of 3. So it's apparent we've got the right term. Let's remember exponent properties, that we have an n to the first times an n to the half. And when we multiply those, what's 1 plus half? That's right, 3 halves. So we were able to write this series in the pSeries format, which is good, because now you look at power. P equals 3 halves, and because that's greater than 1, we have a convergent series. Very good. That's right. Convergent. Good job. On this next series of terms, we have cube roots, radicals in the bottom and the denominators. The 1, that's kind of like the previous example. We can write that as 1 over whatever we need to write to complete the rest of the series. Okay, so this appears to be the sum from 1 to infinity. Because of the dots, that means it just keeps going. It's infinite. Okay, now I know I've got a cube root radical. Let's see if we can figure out what goes underneath. 4 is in the second term, and we know that 4 is 2 squared. 9 is in the third term, and that's 3 squared. 16 is 4 squared. So I think it is the term squared underneath that cube root radical. Does that seem right? Cube root of 1 squared is 1. Cube root of 2 squared is cube root of 4. 3 squared is 9. Cube root of 9. It appears we're right. This radical can be rewritten with a power of 2/3. Okay, now our last example, the power was greater than 1 and it converged. But this time our power is 2/3, which is less than 1. Now if it's less than 1, also remember greater than 0. So we do have a power of 2/3. It fits between 0 and 1. We don't have to include the 1, but we're supposed to. Anyway, because that is less than 1 and it's positive, this is a divergent series. And so it would not add up to a finite value.